Time for cafecito, time for cafecito, time for cafecito break. Join us, take a sip. It's time to wait. Hurry on up, we've got people to shake. Time for cafecito, time for cafecito, time for cafecito break.
And that, my friends, is why we need to elect Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. Daria is exactly who the people of the Bronx and Upper Manhattan deserve representing them in Congress.
It's not going to surprise anybody these days, but New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani is standing firmly by the side of a fellow Democratic socialist running for Congress in New York. And this is a person who has said a lot of things that raise a whole lot of eyebrows and has basically taken about as far left positions as you can get. So we'll get into her. Her name is Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. She's running for Congress in New York's 13th district. She has said a number of things in now deleted posts between 2018 and 2022 on social media, including that she wants to abolish borders, abolish prisons, and police is abolishing all those things is, quote, possible, necessary, and the only moral way forward. She has also said that all deportation is wrong and, quote, yes, literally abolish the border. She's also made some anti-American comments saying, quote, this country is a effing disgrace. In another post, she also added, quote, I forgot to get napkins, so I just wiped my hand on the American flag behind me in yet another post. Now, New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders were both campaigning for Chevalier in New York on Thursday.
And that, my friends, is why we need to elect Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. Daria is exactly who the people of the Bronx and Upper Manhattan deserve representing them in Congress.
The next 4 days, everybody here and everybody in the city has got to work hard to make sure that Brad and Claire and Daralisa become the next congresspeople for New York City.
Now listen to this. Chevalier sat down with the New York editorial board where she repeatedly dodged questions on how she thinks murderers should be handled as a self-proclaimed week. A man killed another man, didn't know the person, just sitting on a stoop, got an 18-year prison sentence. Should that person not go to prison, and what should
All right. Today's topic is New Yorkers are waking up to the bad smell of politics. Welcome, everyone, for tuning in. Take a moment, like, share, subscribe our show. Today's special guest is Sammy Ravelo. And at this time, we're going to reveal our little faces. Perdona que yo estoy un poquito out of practice. It seems like I'm hosting a show for the first time in my life. Hello, everyone. I'm Rosangel Pérez, one of the Pérez sisters. I'm here with Cozy. Mark is in flight, and he's also another person we host the show with. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we're excited to be spotlighting and featuring Sammy Ravelo, who is really someone who can really speak to our community here in New York City, who has questions about the upcoming election, who has questions about the explosion of confusion, but yet awakenings that is happening within New Yorkers. And I want to highlight the Latino community. In particular, there's been this awakening with the Puerto Rican and the Dominican community as two candidates who are running for their primary election tomorrow are, in this race. So, Sammy, ¿cómo tú estás? Want to pass it to Cozy and then bring you on because we can't wait to talk to you.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Coach.
What's going on, everybody? Posey here, former healthcare worker that was fired for refusing the COVID vaccine. I'm a health freedom activist, and I want to get this show started. We're excited to have Sammy Ravelo on. He's been, I've been hearing his speech is very passionate. He's been very consistent, a true patriot. So welcome, Sammy.
Well, guys, Rose, Cozy, for me, it's a pleasure. Obviously, we're at a turning point, not only in our city, our state, but actually our nation. If you guys seen what's happening the last, I would say ever since COVID, and some of the things that certain section, certain fraction of this nation wants to take us. It really is imperative that we all get involved. Our community is probably the least involved out of every community that we vote. And then when I say our community, I'm talking about the Latinos in general. We vote at the least amount, so we have the least amount of saying when it happens. When the pie gets distributed, we take the least, only because our votes are not counted as it should. So those are some of the things that how I get involved is, I don't like to talk. I can see where the problem is coming from, but I'm more of how are we gonna fix it? What am I doing that's gonna fix it? So that's how I got involved, and I'm here to tell my story. I'm here to answer any questions. For me, it's a pleasure that you guys have me.
Thank you, Sammy. And I just want to recognize you and the the Dominican Republican Club and your efforts, and also all of the Latinos who are independent, conservative, Republican in the city, and even the recent Democrats who are saying and they're looking really of what's happening in New York City. Like, there's those of us who see not everything is Donald Trump's fault. Like, it's gotten so old that to this day, the Democrats keep using the name Trump for things that have nothing to do with him as it relates to local politics in New York City. Like, he in any debate, they'd always throw his name. And I feel like that has hindered the community and people like you, like me, like Cozy, when we're trying to speak to common sense New Yorkers. It's almost like, and we get thrown in the bad pot of people that we shouldn't even consider their point of views. And now we're here, where the other day I had an unbelievable conversation with someone who, is in politics, in the Democratic Party, sort of just shocked at the betrayal of Donnie to to the moderate Democrats, as to, like, yo, when we endorse, that means something. Like, I didn't endorse you off my name that I just made yesterday because I showed up to this town 3 days ago or 5 years ago. I made a name for myself. I earned the right and the vote of the community, whether some of it you could argue was deceptive, but these are people that we all have seen in our communities time and time and time again. So how are you seeing all of this from your point of view? Because it caught me off guard, the sudden explosion, but I have to also say that I was kind of asking God when it was going to happen.
That's a great question. Listen, karma. I call it karma. In our community, and this is what happens when one community votes as a block against their own interests. At times, 90%. And I'm gonna speak with the Dominican community. I would say 90% of Dominicans, when they become citizens. The reason I don't include Puerto Ricans in yet is because Puerto Ricans are natural. They're citizens by birth. They have birthright citizenship, so they don't have to go through the process of getting citizenship. So I'm gonna mention my community first, and then I'm gonna mention Latinos as a whole, because you mentioned that as a whole. And I just want to real quick, for those of you or your listeners and your viewers that don't know me, I am a retired police officer. I spent 26 years in the NYPD. I am also a Gulf War veteran. So I just want folks to know a little bit of my background, only because it's gonna shape what's I'm going to talk about going forward. But anyways, going back to the community and the registration, when we become citizens, It's like at a 96% clip. At a certain point, when one party has rule over a community, that's not called democracy. That's called fascism. Because what happens is that only one point of view gets heard, and at that point we lose our checks and balances, which is what our forefathers wanted to create, a check and balances system. And when you have a two-party system or a three-party system or four, I welcome more parties, but when you only have a one-party system within a community, that's fascism. Because those of us that don't agree with everything that goes on, we're like, for example, me, I didn't agree with the gender ideology. I actually agree with law and order. I didn't agree with the open borders. I didn't agree with a lot of things that the Democratic Party is doing. And a lot of Latinos didn't agree because we're not as liberal as the one-party system wants to tell us. So where's the voice of those that disagree? Even the voice of our clergy in our community has been silenced. You see every clergyman. They're inside and walking around taking pictures with all these Democrats when they actually advocate things that go against the Bible. So those are some of the things that, I said, you know what, enough is enough. We have to give a voice to the other side, to the Rosanges of the world, to the Cozis of the world, but seen from our point of view, from the Latino point of view, because they want to paint us all in the same brush, that we're all Democrats, and they're going to assume that we want open borders. They're going to assume that we want this chaos in our streets. They want to assume that we don't want what every other American wants, which is the opportunity to move up in the move up the ladder socially. So we're here to give that voice and to make sure there's our side, there's another side. So right now we're small, but we're growing little by little. Rosangela, you know, Rose, that you've been seeing it. A lot of Latinos now are stepping up and saying, you know what, enough is enough, and I'm happy.
And for those who are asking what were the catalysts, there were a couple of things that I will pinpoint, but I think the major recent ones were when Mamdani, as a newly elected mayor, turned around and endorsed the person running against Espaillat in the Bronx, and then the person running against Reynoso, who is the person that Nydia Velázquez has endorsed and chosen as the person she would like to replace her seat. Of course, all of that is, due to the people who show up to vote. And that's part of this discussion here. It's been weaponized for us, the message to Black and brown communities: do not vote because you're voting for the colonizer. I mean, I get some of it, right? But we don't overwhelm the system. Then we keep surrendering our rights to people who may even cosplay to be Latinos, but they're not. And we have lots of them that,
Yes.
everybody knows will run, and all of a sudden they'll add an "ez" to their last name, and they're fully not at all who they are portraying to the masses to be. It's like a great acting for the
Carlos
community.
Delgado, you mean? Latino from Puerto Rico, or I don't know, wherever he was claimed. But you hit it right on the nose, and I'm sorry I didn't really fully answer your question the last time. Yes, it's happening right now in the Latino, but in those two districts where you got Espaillat and Antonio Reynoso, who so-called moderate Democrats. I don't believe in that moderate Democrat thing. I don't believe in conservative Democrat anymore. I used to be a Democrat. For those of you that still are normal, keep saying my story. I actually was a Democrat until 2024, when I finally saw the light and left the party. Only because the last 30 years they've been moving so far to the left. But this is the problem with the folks like Antonio Reynoso and Espaillat. They're not too far on the left. They're not too radical. They're not radical enough. That's the word I'm looking for. They're not radical enough for some of the folks in the Democrat Party. So this is the opportunity for us to start telling, our community. I mean, the deception, our brothers and sisters in the Puerto Rican community just saw exactly what happened to them, the deception and the lies and the backstabbing from Mandani. That's exactly Mandani's supporting these two moderate so-called Democrats. He's supporting their opponent, who are two radical socialists. This is where we're going. And, we're starting to wake up. And I don't want to say just Latinos, because, obviously the reason why I formed this club, Dominican American Republican Club, for your folks that don't know, I actually am the president of the Dominican American Republican Club. And the reason why I started this club is exactly that. Start focusing on the community. I'm hoping to expand it into Latino, then the entire New York, where, people are actually going to look at policies and they're going to see it. We don't have to just stick with one party. Right now, in those two races that you just said, there isn't a real Republican contender. And I know I got to put it at the steps of the state Republican Party, but there isn't a real Republican contender. So whoever wins this race between Antonio Reynoso and I think her name is Claire Valdez, whoever wins, we're going to be stuck with the winner. And who loses? The entire community, because they're not a good choice either way. Obviously we don't support the socialists because that's dangerous. But at the same time, these moderate Democrats have failed miserably to stop the left, because it seems to me that the left is growing, not shrinking.
I think that there might be an intimidation factor happening. And then, of course, the other part, that when you work so close to something, you may not see what people from the outside can see a little bit more clearly. That happened to me when I was a part of the music industry. People wanted to know all the bochinche. There were certain things I didn't quite get until years later. Oh, that's why that thing was weird. And things start clicking, right? Why? Because when you're so close to something, you're not going to see everything. And here's why we always say we need multiple point of views, meaning we need more than just the DSA point of view, more than just the Democratic point of view. And the type of thinking that we're seeing in cities like New York is getting dangerous, because there seems to be almost like people get obsessed if they sense that you may not be on their liberal team. And we've experienced it, Cozy and I and other friends that we have, as we have tried to do civic duties in support of local candidates in New York City. We've gotten spit at. They've called us racist things. They've told us to go back to where we came from. Slandered, like all those things that you would think this is not happening in modern day society. These are not the way that modern citizens comport themselves. No, they really is behavior that sometimes some of us have gotten and felt insecure with, like, are we gonna get beat down simply because we're just raising awareness for a different perspective that's not tied into this, almost like, if you don't think this way, then what's wrong with you? I had that with a Mamdani supporter when, they were, before he got the mayor run. Are you voting for him? No. The question right after that was, oh, why? Because he's a Muslim?
Right.
I mean, that, to me, that's dangerous.
They want to guilt you into doing these things. Absolutely. Listen, I agree. I'm going to tell you, New York is a 3-to-1 voter registration gap right now in the entire state. And this is the state of the state. Mike Lawler, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a congressman in upstate New York, or middle state New York, I'm going to say, just over New York City. And he is in a fight for his seat right now. We're talking Putnam County, I believe. And just think about it. This, I'm going to say 6 years ago, this seat was solid red. Solid red. And now it may turn blue. Mike Laura has to soften up on some of his stances. He's getting a lot of heat from the party now because he said, he's kind of have to play to his to the demographic change in his district. My point with all this is that the Republican Party needs to now change and adapt because we keep losing the information gap, the registration gap, and therefore, I get it, we're losing. And I believe that there's a group of people in the party. I'm new to the party, so I don't want to come across as I'm critiquing, but we have a big opportunity. Donald Trump showed it. There was a lot of people within our community in Brooklyn and in the Bronx where areas where were historically blue, we saw some people start voting red. My point with this is that I don't see the party starting to trying to capitalize and invest in those places that I believe we can make those gains. I don't see them, and that's what I want to see. So it goes to your point and to your comment that this is why we see all these things happening and in this state. It is because I believe we haven't had a solid opposition party actually do the work that is required in order for us to save New York, because New York is in the brink, and I said it in the beginning. We're at a crossroads, and we need to really start the work now.
Absolutely. And, as you're mentioning these things, I see a lot of problems, right? The reason we're in the position is many, right? It's multi-layered. One of them is a lot of people are leaving. A lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans are moving down to Florida, moving to Texas, moving to Arizona. And as we keep doing this, as people start fleeing, you're left with, the blue people, right? So I'll call them the blue people. But on top of that, there's cheating, there's betrayal. I don't think the Republican Party is doing a great job in terms of look, why is there an open seat here, right? Or throw some contender in there, start working on the culture, get your voices out. There's a lot of people who, in every community, they believe the things we believe in, right? They don't want, boys in girls sports, right? They don't all these cultural wars, right? All these things we fight about, which is common sense stuff, right? I don't think most human beings do not want a boy beating up a girl in sports. Don't want that, right? Most people don't want people crossing the border, especially criminal ones, and even not illegals. I'm talking about just repeat offenders. This is a big thing that most people, would probably agree with, right? Why are we not focusing on a stronger way to communicate this and to reach out to people? A lot of it is fear, I guess. A lot of it is, and I want to say the GOP, a lot of times, man, they're backstabbing our own people. I'm going to speak for myself. When Trump did what he did, what they did to Sliwa was absolutely disgusting, right? To cross parties, to go for Andrew Cuomo, one of the worst Democrats we ever seen, one of the most abusive public servants we've ever had in New York, okay? To go and say, go vote for him, that was a big slap in the face, and this is why we don't even have loyalty here, right? So, I don't know, I just threw out a whole bunch of tangents here, but
well, I got something to say about that, and this is one of the few times. This is one of the few times I want to say, as you guys know, one of the things I'm a guy. Let's go do. Let's not talk. Aside from actually starting an organization and starting to show, my community that there's other ways, there's other options, pretty much. We started the club. And we actually launched our first candidate, the first Dominican American woman to run as a Republican in the Bronx. We believe it statewide I think we're a little unsure about one person, but she is the first statewide Dominican American Republican woman. We actually introduced her to the party. And guess what the party did? Only because somehow they feel that they couldn't control or have control over this candidacy. They decided to put a paper candidate. I mean, how can you, as a party grow when because you're pissed off at somebody, you're going to try to get them off the ballot. But I'm going to give you, that's not, I think, what was egregious. Okay, I understand you acting like a child, trying to put a paper candidate against a real candidate in a community that we actually need to make gains, and we actually have a active club trying to make those gains, because we have a governor that we hopefully gets elected, because he's going to have better policies for our kids than the governor that we have there now. You would think that that's something that it would just falls off the tree. No, not only are we going to try to get a real candidate off the ballot, let's not put a candidate on 9 of the 11 assembly districts in the Bronx. So right now we have a candidate running for governor, and in the Bronx, which you need votes, because you're going to need a minimum 30% of the city to vote for you if we want to get the governorship. And unfortunately, there's a million, or fortunately, in my case, there's close to 1 million Dominicans that live in the city. So without the Dominican vote, you're not going to win, only because it's math. And this is one community that is already proven that's willing to vote cross-party. A lot of them voted for Donald Trump. You would think that you would try to dedicate some time to make up for that 30% of the city vote that you need to get in order to get elected governor. And here comes a committee in the Bronx that leaves 9 out of the 11 assembly districts out. How can you do something more egregious than that? Explain that to me. So right now, we, as Republicans, the Republican Party, these are the little self-inflicted wounds that we need to start preventing. And we need to start showing people, holding people accountable. Something like that cannot happen. One more thing. In the Bronx, the only person on the ballot is next year is going to be the DA. You would think that the only person on the ballot is the DA in an off year. The Republican Party can't get one person, maybe a retired cop, retired lawyer, to run for DA in the Bronx. You know, the county with probably the highest percentage of crime when it comes to the population. No, because we're too busy worried about other stuff. So, goes to your point, Cozy. I'm sorry for the long-winded explanation, but it goes to, Cozy's point. We are sleeping at the wheel, and the people that get hurt because we get elected, we elect people like Mayor Cuomo, King Cuomo, I used to call him, where he actually hurts people. How many people during COVID got hurt because of that guy? And no, we actually re-elect his lieutenant governor who kept all his policies. She didn't even change his policy. She just continued.
Absolutely.
So this is where we are. We need to get voices like yourself, Rose, like yourself, Cozy, and start talking to the community. Let's start talking to the communities that we don't normally talk to. Because I can easily go to Long Island and everybody can nod their head. But now let's go down to the South Bronx, like I'm doing. Let's go now to the Sheridan houses. I got a big meeting tomorrow with one of the leaders in the Sheridan houses, the projects. And he's actually willing to run. I mentioned that we're running Sherry Olivo, the first Dominican American running as a Republican in the state. And we're gonna meet up. She's knocking on every door in the project. She's gotten she's been places where, there was a shooting the night before, and she's been knocking on that building, because, this is what the Republican Party needs. And we're showing it with deeds, not with talk.
Sammy, you would think with all this horrible stuff that they've done, right? With the stuff that we were talking about, the trans stuff, all the surgeries, the illegal immigration, that the crime, the COVID, disaster, right? That whole scam, all the stuff that they've done, right? Complete failures. You would think that people would wake up their eyes. I thought, they're going to hit rock bottom. People are going to start waking up. They still haven't woken up. So how do we wake them up, Sammy? What do we have to do to these people?
I'm going to give you. We got to get more Sherry Olivos. And I'm going to tell you, and more people and more clubs like the Dominican American Republican Club that are actually active, that are actually, knocking on doors. Let me tell you, we are talking to Democrats that are going to be, and we're not talking about the dozens. We're going to be talking thousands of Democrats are going to be probably voting for Sherry. But what we need to do is exactly that. Knock on the door. Hi, how you doing? I'm Sammy Ravelo. I'm actually the president of the Dominican American Republican Club. Republican, we're getting a lot of that. But now since we go second and we knock a third time, they're saying, yeah, because you know what? You know why? That person in the South Bronx, that person in the hood, they don't like men going into women's spaces. They don't like men, they don't like men playing in women's sports. They actually didn't like the open borders. Yeah, people from the hood, they didn't like the open borders. They saw how people with 2 minutes in this country were demanding housing, were demanding health care. And guess what? They didn't like it because they've been here 40, 30, 20 years. They've been here, they have gone through hell to get the little that they've gotten. And these people, in a matter of a week, now have everything that a lot of people that have been here legally have for years. So guess what? You know what? Open borders doesn't look right, even though they're telling us. They tell us that that's what we want. You saw Espaillat and Daria Lisa. You saw that debate. They were tripping over themselves as to who's going to do more for illegals. If you saw that, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Who's going to do more for illegals?
And my favorite moment was when they asking like which soccer team they would go for. And of course, they both said the United States. No, not in any world. Right. But that's the point. Why are we even looking at candidates that don't love where they're supporting? Like everything that I do is because I love my people, my community. It doesn't look like running for politics, but that's what motivates me every single day. And that breathes life. Promoting hate and division, that's just killing things. And they're promoting more segregation and an elitist point of views. And because there's so many wounds in that gather together and vote.
Yes.
And that's a sad reality. It's are we voting with hope? Are we voting because of our wounds? Because we're already like, what are all the Mamdani promises? I don't think we're getting free buses. I mean, the rates are going up. The fast buses are going up. Everything is just going up in price.
Correct. So that shows you right there that, these guys, they come and promise this big, utopia of a world that is socialist. And we're going to take from the rich and we're going to give it to the poor. And that's great. While they themselves are becoming richer and richer and richer, because don't let them fool you. All right. AOC and Bernie, they are well off. When they allegedly didn't have anything, they are well off. Trust me. AOC didn't have a dime, and now she's a multimillionaire. Don't tell me she made it, she made it while she's serving in Congress. No, And by the way, I don't knock anybody that becomes a millionaire. That's what this country's about. If you have a good idea, if you have a good story, if you have a good product, and that product could be yourself. If it's legal, you are entitled to become a millionaire. And I applaud that. And that's why a lot of people keep coming to our shores, because this is a capitalist country. We're not knocking that. It's the fact that now you want to take to give. Those policies have proven that they have been, they have wrecked our community. We have generations, and you, Rose, as Puerto Rican, that they showed us the American way. Puerto Ricans showed the Dominicans, they've been here before us, how some of the policies, democratic policies, have kept our communities, the Latino community, under the government head for generations. You have 2-3 generations of Latinos in the welfare because they haven't been able to get out, because those policies that were meant to just help you get out of poverty actually are helping you stay in poverty. you run into a person that's saying, if I actually get a job right now, I'm getting medical aid, I'm getting all my benefits from the government, and I don't work. I'm better off not working, because if I get a job making $6,000 more than I want to making now, I'm off all these benefits, and $6,000 is not worth it for me to go out there, bust my ass, all right, and then lose my benefits. This is what's happening. So what I'm saying is, Rose, is those policies are meant to keep us, or many of us, in poverty and not actually out of it. So we're starting to wake up to that as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Cozy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, and by the way, congratulations, Sammy. What you're doing with the club is great, because we have to win through culture, right? And I think culture is what we have been lacking in terms of like Republican, and I don't want to say Republican culture, but American culture, right? Because these are American values. And the music is going to be something, right? So we got to get in more musicians, we got to get more art. And that's what the left does very well, because they have Hollywood, they have all these things where they have the entertainment, the music industry. We have to have our own. And without that, I don't think we can win. And that's one of the aspects. That's one of them, right? And then obviously the parents getting involved, stepping up. But yeah, congratulations for doing that. We need more of you doing that stuff and people getting involved, right? The people tomorrow who are going to be voting, historically, it's about, I think, 20 to 30% of New Yorkers come out and vote in primaries. So what that means is the most extreme of the people are going to go out to vote, and that's very dangerous. The most extreme meaning the people who, like all those psychos who go vote DSA, or the misled that go vote DSA, those are the ones who are going to turn up. So we got to make sure people turn up tomorrow, okay? And I do understand that I'm not a Democrat, so there's a DSA versus, moderate or progressive. So you have to pick, the people who are in that have to pick the better of the two. But you guys got to vote the DSA out. These are, to me, they're almost like terrorists in this country. That's how I see them. They are here to destroy America. They hate America. They want to strip it down. They want to destroy everything we have here.
I look at them as soul suckers. A lot of them have soul-sucking energy.
They hate this country.
I'm not even saying that to be facetious. I have entered enough of some of the establishments or some of the settings. There seems to be this ominous darkness that surrounds some of these settings vibrationally. Why? Because when you are operating an ego and it's not clean, or with this elitist, like, for all of the criticisms that Republicans and conservatives get, I have yet to meet one where I couldn't at least have an exchange with as a conversation point. I can repeat the story on the opposite end with Democrats, liberals, or anyone who's just anti what anything could be. Like, I've triggered people on many different subjects, so I could probably cite you 30 different examples. But that's my point. All of those examples are within the Democratic Party. So when people ask, oh, how come you are all leaving? Well, you guys do not make it inviting for any of us to have a conversation. You don't talk to the people that are in your party, and you eject the ones that start asking questions, which is why there's been a whole bunch of folks who have migrated towards the right. But that doesn't mean we're all Republicans or like loyal Republicans. I hear what you're saying too, Sammy. I'm saying that too. I'm a fresh Republican. I only converted so that I was able to vote for Lee Zeldin, right? But I've been an independent my entire adult life. And I still have an independent heart. I think I may change back to independent because honestly, I don't see how the Republican has won my particular vote. So yeah.
It's very hard. Yeah, it's very hard, and it's unfortunate. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Bruce Blakeman is not known or has zero name recognition in our community. And it's June 22nd. And I can tell you that, it's disheartening because, I don't think that that effort, to reach out to a big bulk of your voters. I don't know you, Rose. I'm gonna pose this question to you only because of two things. He just finished marching in the parade, in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and I believe he met with your governor. I don't know how much it has transferred in as far as name recognition with the Puerto Rican community. Obviously, being in the main parade always helps a little bit, but there's a lot more that you need to do. But my point with this, and I like to hear your answer, is that when it comes to the Republican, I'm critical because I don't think we're doing the groundwork that we need to do in order to make it competitive. I just think we gave up. We gave up. It's all nice, pretty nice at the cocktail parties. I try to avoid those, to be honest, Rose. You don't see me in many of those. I'd rather be talking to my voters in the street. I turn people just by telling them, hey, listen, you are a Republican and you don't know. And then I keep hitting this, and you don't know, and I cite the reasons why you are a Republican. At the end of the day, I'm getting that result. Sherry's getting the same thing. Sherry actually is going through a primary right now because of the Republican Party. But you know what? We're getting those people to come out and vote for Sherry. And another reason why I want to make sure that we're actually out there doing the work is that primaries are not bad. Right now you're talking about primaries and you say primaries in New York and you're only thinking about Democrats. But there's actually 4 Republican primaries going on. There's actually one, the other 3 actually have real candidates on each side. There's 2 Republicans on each race, 2 real Republicans, not like Sherry's. And, we're not talking about them, because the Democrats suck all the oxygen out of the room. Those are some of the things that we as Republicans need to change, but I don't see that effort. I don't see that, and those of us that are kind of suggesting are kind of get accused of being infiltrators, God forbid, let's grow the party, but you're an infiltrator. So, we're trying to kind of, as we grow and as we kind of do our thing. And by the way, Cozy, thanks for that shout out. Sometimes you don't know if the work that you're doing gets recognized. I appreciate that. That means we don't speak that much, but I guess you're seeing some of the stuff that we're doing because that's how people notice and that's how people are going to change. And if you look at some of the stuff that we post and you start looking at the comment, you'll see we're moving in the right direction. I'm happy about that.
I'm
No,
happy to
absolutely.
see it. Sorry, Cozy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Word gets around, man. We know people pay attention. When people are being effective and people are being genuine, it gets noticed. So we are hearing the good word. So keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And, I see the posts and every single time I will share it on our stories and our timeline because I want people to see that there are common sense people who love New York and have, I feel like let's have more options. Like you said in the beginning, if you're frustrated, look, there's a lot of people that maybe they're not even identifying themselves politically correct, but I think that maybe we should focus more on what we have in common instead of what divides us. And so much of COVID should have never divided anyone, like making people reveal their what should be their protected HIPAA status should not have been something that should have happened. But people made it political, and because people really have Trump derangement syndrome, that has gotten in the way of having a conversation about issues. Because if we're talking about, hey, do you like that Mayor Mamdani endorsed such and such or said that he's, you know what? I want to share this with you, and I'm also going to answer your question that I heard you ask about how did I feel, and how that I understand the Puerto Rican community felt with Blakeman and Jennifer meeting and even be, at the parade. So I want to show you this and then I'll answer your question.
I'm excited and supporting 2 Latina candidates in Daria Lisa. I'm incredibly excited and supporting 2 Latina candidates in Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, who would be the first Afro-Latina to represent that district in Congress. I'm also excited to be supporting Claire Valdez, who's running in New York 7. And I think in both of these candidacies, you actually also see a commitment to working people that will uplift them in a city that is the most expensive in the United States of America. And now I just want to speak a little bit on the question of these primaries. I understand that in our city, there will be a variety of opinions when it comes to which candidate to support, which district to be involved in. One thing I do want to make clear that I find unacceptable in our city is the attempt to use the term Haitian as a slur. The trafficking and anti-Black sentiment and narratives that we have seen specifically in New York 13 when it comes to Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier is something that I cannot stand here and say is in line with the values of the
No Cuomo, no Adams. They had their chance and screwed up NY.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make him disappear, not remove.
We can't make his stupid smile disappear.
No, I don't know. Like, one of the things that irritates me so much, and I feel like you could even hear it. And it's like, well, I'm in, the Afro-Latinas. Like,
he's such a fraud.
just leading with that sucks.
Yeah,
Especially when they're not even strong candidates that a lot of Latinos don't like. Like, a tiny little bubble approves.
Right. And this is one of the things also that I left the Democratic Party. I mean, I'll be honest, walking on eggshells because you don't know who you're gonna offend, and you gotta. They're the party that wants everybody equal, but they're the ones that issue labels as soon as you get into I'm gonna tell you, I don't like the term Afro-Latino. I don't like the term Latinx. I don't like none of this stuff. You're Latino, fine. Actually, we should all just be American, to be honest with you. I would prefer that, and just leave it at that. But I get it. Reality is reality. We all kind of tend to go to our little groups. It's human nature, so we're not gonna, as long as you respect that, that's the Republican way, live and let live, kind of the libertarian way. So anyways, they he hit all the dots, Afro-Latino. But one thing that, a lot of people are not talking about that he said in that clip that I take offense to it, because that's the whole thing. Apparently the Democrats, they have a grip on what offensive is. You open your mouth, they're offended. That's it. You got to shut up. But even when they offend you and you tell them, hey, listen, what you just said is messed up. I don't like it. No, it doesn't matter how you feel. Your feelings don't matter as long as their feelings are okay. But I saw what he was trying to do. Daria Lisa, he's trying to now get certain people in the Dominican community to now say the word Haitian. He called the word Haitian, a slur. As if you're saying that you're Haitian, it's a slur. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah, no, I did.
You're Haitian if you're Haitian, if you're from Haiti, you're Haitian. And if you consider the word Haitian a slur, shame on you, Mayor Mondani. All right, don't put it on Dominicans or don't put it on people on 13. And that is offensive to me, that you're going to say people in 13 are using the word Haitian as a slur. What? If you're from Haiti, you're Haitian. And now you're going to say that now saying Haitian is a slur? I don't know if you guys heard that. This is the first time.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
We could play that right back if
Play it again. Play it again.
And this is exactly what I'm saying with the Democrats. They're the ones that tell you that we're going to all be equal and all dandy, nice and dandy, but they're the ones that create this little problem. I'm sure that a lot of people in the Dominican community now are going to feel a certain way because this guy. And by the way, I'm not my comment when it comes to this Haitian situation, the Dominican Republic and Haiti are sovereign countries. Those are countries that they can solve their issue. Just like we're a sovereign country. I mean, I don't like open borders here in the United States of America. If the Dominican government wants to have control of their borders, that's their right. I'm worried about here. But the fact that you guys say the word Haitian and then I was considered a slur, that's a problem to me.
Yeah, so are we going to say, oh, when you say the word white, that's a slur? So don't talk about white
Correct.
people. Don't talk about Dominicans. That's a slur? Get out of
Correct.
here with this
Correct.
nonsense, man.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party, because you don't know what toe you were going to step on or what shell you were going to step on, because it was a landmine. Or what word are you going to say that you're just going to, get people upset at you or whatever. So, like I said, I'm glad I left that, that circus, if you will.
Thank you for giving us your feedback. I wasn't sure where that comment was coming from. It took me off guard, but you're absolutely right, and that's one of the things that I do not like.
I'm going to tell you where it came from. What happened was that, Daria Lisa, she's made some anti-Dominican comments. And she tweeted them. She's one of those that feels that it should be one island. Obviously, that's something that's very deep within the Dominican community. They want to pretend, that's something cultural within that community. This Daria Lisa is a globalist. She believes that, especially that island should be one. And she actually had on her post on her Wikipedia that she is I believe, an immigrant from Haiti, or, she considered herself Haitian, only as a protest. She is Dominican, by the way. I just want to make sure that I'm not, but obviously certain people, certain Dominicans felt a certain way that you don't recognize where you're from or whatever it was, and it became an issue. But that doesn't mean now that if you say you're Haitian, it's a bad word, or it's a slur. Shame on, as a matter of fact, shame on Mandani to even using the mayor's office to even suggest that. That is so low from a mayor. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, how can he, from his words, come out and say there are people in New York 13 that are using the word Haitian as a slur?
So now I want to just make sure the context.
Think about that. That's like me saying there's people in New York 13 that are using the word Puerto Rican as a slur. Or there's people in New York 6 using the word Dominican as a slur. I mean, think about that. Saying what you are is a slur. It is ridiculous. Just like ridiculous is the fact that we have a, and this is probably going to hit both of us, Rose. We have a Puerto Rican state assemblyman who is now Dominican or claims he's Dominican. He got his Dominican citizenship or his papers. And this is the bill that this genius decides to introduce. This is the guy that decides to introduce a bill saying that we're going to change the word mother and father in the legal system through non-gestation, or I don't know if you guys heard about this bill.
I did.
All right?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Rose,
the roots of it.
Yeah, well, this is Luis Sepulveda, Puerto Riqueño. I don't know if you know that he got his Dominican papers.
He's a trans-Dominican now, right?
He's got his Dominican papers. So now, and by the way, I got nothing personal against him. I tell everybody, I'm in the Veterans Hall of Fame because of him. A few years ago, he submitted me. But that does not buy my silence. That does not mean now that because, first of all, I didn't ask. By the way, I wasn't offered. I was called and say, listen, this is what we did. But that does not mean that now you bought my silence because you gave me some plaque. Take me out of the veteran. I don't care. Take me out of the Hall of Fame if it means that now if things like this get proposed, I need to keep quiet. My point overall, Rose, is I don't remember if he ever, called leaders in the Puerto Rican community saying, listen, I'm thinking about introducing this bill or advancing this bill saying that we're going to change the word mother, we're going to change the word father. Certainly, as a Puerto Rican, I don't remember him, talking to the Puerto Rican community in general. And now as a trans-Dominican, like, Cozy says, I don't remember him bringing the Dominican community and having the overall discussion. But now we find out when the bill is about to get signed by Kathy Hochul that it was introduced by somebody that is very much entrenched in the community. And now when he's asked, everybody's like, oh, I don't know anything about that. He assumed that we would be okay. And this is what's happening. And there's another reason why I want to get involved and let my community know. Listen, these people work for us. This is highly offensive. And this bill was introduced because it was being offensive to gay and lesbian couples or trans couples because, it has to be more humane. But wait a minute, you mean to tell me that now Christians, we have to now put up with this? Where are our feelings on? We Christians, we have to now be quiet?
It's too many tests. Like at some point, I understand staying silent and, the upper road and, how Michelle Obama would say, when they go low, we go high.
We go high, exactly. No, we're losing. Well, no. And it's like, when you're Christian or if you, and I hate to say, if you're a white guy, you have like no rights in this country, or you have no saying. You keep putting and putting laws and everything that actually highly offensive me as a religious person. That's why I tell people the clergy have been sleeping at the wheel. They're not doing their jobs. With all these churches out here, there shouldn't be that disparity in voter registration. Yet you see all these clergies walking up with all these demon elected officials that are Democrats, and I'm calling them out. Start taking responsibility.
Well, they know how to charm their way into the churches.
Well, our clergy needs to. Our clergy needs to start demanding, because that photo op is not worth it. When our kids in school are being taught what they're being taught at an inappropriate age, and a parent can't do anything about it.
It's going to be too late. It's going to be too late when these people have the courage to step up and start speaking when they need to speak up right now. The fact that this guy did this in stealth, guaranteed, like what you said, there's no way in hell that he went around telling his constituents what he's about to do, because he would be stopped. He would be stopped. Right now,
I didn't hear it.
Every single human being in New York needs to make sure that they tell every single person they know about this guy, because that is total disrespect and unacceptable. Okay, that they did it in stealth.
Louis Sepulveda in the Bronx. Like I said, these people, they assume that I actually put a post on this. It went a little viral. It got some comments because like I said, doesn't buy me silence. And one of his people in his camp called me, tone it down.
I'm sorry. To me, that's a big offense. You're sinning. You're making an assumption, and I don't see it as ay bendito, these poor people that their feelings are hurt. I see this as you are being elitist, and you're being segregationist, and you're also trying to bend science and trying to bend everything else at your will. And yeah, this seems like totalitarian 1984, my way or the highway, get with my program thinking. And no, we don't want that pa' fuera. We're calling it out. And I'm going to answer your question, Sammy. From what I'm gathering, the Puerto Rican community doesn't know Bruce Blakeman. I myself have asked, are we going to see more of him around within the Black and brown communities? I really didn't get a response to that. In relationship, which means there could be a plan. I don't mean I know. I'm just saying I didn't get an answer to that.
Right.
And how do I feel? And then did I feel? I heard Puerto Ricans, their response when they met. Well, it was like a perfect marriage of I'm gonna hate more. They already hate Trump for the most part, and they don't like the governor of Puerto Rico. So,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Had you asked some of us like me, I would have been like, you gotta play this gently with the Puerto Ricans, because that woman, I don't know too much about her. I don't opine on Puerto Rican politics. that move over there if I don't understand and live there. But what I can tell you is a lot of Puerto Ricans do not like the governor. Even the more conservative ones, they do not trust her. Some question how she even surprisingly won the election.
The reason why I ask is obviously you don't have the polls. I'm more interested, obviously, in the Puerto Rican community here in New York, obviously, because that's what's going to affect. That's what's going to affect this gubernatorial race coming up. But I didn't see the fire. I don't see the fire. There's got to be something has to get lit up in that campaign, or it's going to go up in flames. I didn't see the boost where I see because obviously I know Puerto Ricans here plenty. Puerto Ricans used to rule here, and I kind of have. I kind of try to get the beat, the heartbeat. You know it better than me, but I didn't see the boost that you would get when you meet somebody. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see it, I didn't feel it, but I don't know the community as well as you would. I know in our community it's not known. I know that he's going around with a. This is what I heard. He's going around with an elected Dominican official with a dubious background. I'm hoping that that's not true, but that's what I was told yesterday. Without going into the details, I'm gonna vet the story before I even mention it, but because I don't want to obviously hurt our Republican nominee. But I can tell you this: he needs to change drastically what he is doing if he wants to get elected governor of this state. I question the people that are around him without saying any names. I think he's surrounded with people that are really not going to do the job to get him over the hump, because there's a lot of work to do. I'm not saying it's impossible and anything can happen. Obviously, running against Kathy Hochul should be just something that should be easy. The Democrats, they have a hold of state government for 12 years. This year should have been an easy.
People don't like Governor Hochul, and I agree with you. That's my frustration, Sammy.
Right,
it should be
right.
so easy to beat
Easy,
Kathy
thank
Hochul.
you.
So why the heck isn't it
Somebody
happening? Because the Republicans are not taking an opportunity that has been there since Reverend Ruben Diaz was sounding the alarm all those years ago with Lee Zeldin.
Hey,
A Democrat, a lifelong Democrat in the Bronx.
Well,
Sorry, you mean cabrono, man.
I know. But I mean, I heard that he's reached out to Reverend. I heard, but what's the plan? You got to have a plan. And then, okay, listen. Let's say I'm not saying come to the Bronx. You're not going to spend your time in the Bronx. It's going to be very hard. We are. That's why we all need all these candidates. That's why the party itself is so important, because. If you have only 2 candidates running for the assembly in the Bronx and 1 for the state senate, you need 4 in the state senate and 11 in the assembly, and you only have 1 in this. How if you have all these other people actually preaching the gospel of the Republican Party, of the Conservative Party, of the conservatism, of the party of we don't want to lose New York because the Democrats are going to, whatever it is that you want to call it. If we really had people preaching that, real people, it would be easier. But you couple that with the fact that Bruce is really he's been uninspiring so far, in my opinion. I'm sure he can start turning around, but he's going to have to look at outside his team if he wants to do that.
We got to sprinkle some salsa on him. Get us some flavor.
¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Come
Cozy,
on.
how are you
Yeah,
seeing
do
this?
you?
Because
Are
I know,
you guys
I know.
I'm sorry. Are you guys seeing something that I'm not? Because if you guys are more than welcome, I'm hoping. Believe me, I think he would be a better candidate than Hochul.
We've been making the same observations, and we've been hearing the same murmurings too.
Okay.
And I don't know. People always say reasons, and I understand. Just when you're the minority in New York City, it's just harder to penetrate. And I understand if you have certain resources, you're gonna go where you're gonna get the vote. I understand that logic, but then that continuously just leaves people that you don't think are gonna vote for you, but you leave them disengaged, almost politically homeless. I think there are more people politically homeless than that are tethered really to either party. I think that if there were viable options that people felt like this is a common sense candidate, I can understand. Like, I think that this could be a fresh new way. They would be like a walk away from the left and the right.
Yeah, I agree. Let me tell you something, Rosen. And this is a problem. It's both parties. You know, in the Bronx has the least amount of Republicans. Obviously, it has the biggest voter registration gap. And this is the policy of the Bronx GOP. Anybody that goes to the Bronx has to call them up and ask permission. All right, and if you schedule something in the Bronx, it's not sanctioned by the Bronx GOP. People that have zero power, by the way. They start calling the candidates, start threatening them, and all this other like childish stuff. Things that you think would happen in Soviet Russia, probably. But this is the truth, And how can you grow as a party when you have a bunch of people that are dysfunctional telling you that you can't come to a certain event? Those are the things that we want to hopefully change. We want to stop ASAP. It starts now, but we need to start now thinking growth. There's a chance to recover this, but we got to start thinking the right way.
Well, you got to keep doing what you're doing, and because people are seeing it. And definitely thank you so much for coming out and joining us. This has been such a great conversation, and I hope that we get to chat with you on this platform more often and get updates.
Well, you can have me anytime you want, but I really want you to bring Sherry in, and I'm very bold to say that we're gonna win tomorrow. I just need to throw this out there. If any Republican that lives in District 86, if you guys are listening to this, please go out tomorrow and vote for Sherry Olivo. New York City, vote.nyc. You can get your polling location, or reach out to the Dominican American Republican Club or Sherry's campaign. We'll try to let you know where you vote. But it is important that you go out and vote, and also donate to her campaign. Her opponent, if we win tomorrow, is going to spend $500,000. Todavía tiene miedo, and we haven't won yet the primary, which I know we're going to win tomorrow. So I really thank you for having me, and I can come anytime you want. Just give me a little advance notice, Rose, and for you, anything.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm a fan. You know that, right? I'm a fan of yours, okay? And I'm a fan of yours, Cozy, too. All right, guys?
Appreciate it.
So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, and keep
So
up
people,
the great work.
again, get out and vote, people. Again, only 20 to 30% vote. You need to get out, or the radicals are going to win. Get out and vote. Vote for
Cozy,
Sherry.
can I just correct you one thing?
Yeah,
it's not
correct
20.
me.
It's not 20. It's not 30. It's probably 7% vote come out and vote in the primaries. Probably
Even worse than I thought.
Wow.
No, it is worse. It's an off year, by the way.
Wow.
It's an off year, so you usually get the vote down. And if you look at the amount of people that have come out and voted in this election, which is very high, it is a very minuscule compared to like a presidential election or a presidential primary. So the people, which goes to your point, the actual people that actually get to determine an election are not the moderates, are not the most conservative, are the most radical people that are that are the activists. And both parties have them, by the way. We elect our very own crazies, but both parties, and it is because only 7% of the electorate comes out in the primaries. Very small number, and that's how they are able to elect all these radicals.
Yeah, and that's why the
I
primary.
just want you to correct that. I know your overall point was it's very
thank
low.
you.
It's actually lower than what you thought.
Yeah, I literally just Googled it. I guess I got the wrong information, but thank you for clarifying that. And because I had that in my post this morning somewhere, I guess somewhere I got this stat, which is wrong. I'll correct it. But thank you. And that's why the primaries are so much more dangerous, because the most intense, most passionate, most insane people will probably be there. So you got to make sure you balance that out by, everybody's got to get involved.
Right, because you have the people that are like, oh no, we're going to get our candidate in.
Right.
And then you have those of us who have been raised to believe that voting doesn't matter, and also don't waste your time voting for the white man. Because really that's what they say. So a lot of black and brown folks don't show up, and meaning, we're starting to see this response from certain politicians, sort of like, why are you complaining if you haven't been a participant at the table?
Correct.
And this is when, there is that tough love. We're here because we were too docile, because we trusted the wrong people, and because we weren't engaged. There were plenty of times that I would, let's say, go to certain businesses. It was like, hey, there's an activity down the block on this day. Can you bring someone, let's say, from your bodega to represent? Because, you guys are an endangered species out there. Bueno, nobody listened. They said, yeah. No one, not one of the bodegas that I had engaged that year showed up to represent, send a representation to protest where we were trying to save them. And none of them are around anymore.
Correct. And that's why we're here. Well, hopefully to be engaged and hopefully get other people to engage as well.
All right. Any comments, announcements that you'd like to add, Sammy, before we wrap out?
Well, get out and vote, guys, tomorrow. And the celebration will be at Casa de Mama, 1872 Webster Avenue. Tomorrow we're going to be there at 8, celebrating the victory for Sherry Olivo.
All right. Thank you so much. And it's been what a great conversation that we've had. Thank you again. Before we wind down, I pass it on to Cozy. I just want to share with the community an initiative that some of us are involved in, and it's called WeReformNYC.com. I'm just wanting to, there's like 10 initiatives that we are proposing. And if you visit WeReformNYC.com and check out the reforms, if you like it, sign the petition. I mean, aren't you tired of corrupt politicians? I'm going to leave this right now so you can see the website, or you can also scan with your phone the QR code, and it will take you right to the website, and you could sign the petition right now. We need at least 50,000 signatures by mid-August, to be honest, if these reforms are to get a shot at making it onto the ballot in November, and meaning that people have an opportunity, if it makes it to the ballot, to vote on these reforms independently. Why am I saying that? Your signature doesn't commit you to all 10. It just gives the opportunity for this to get on the ballot. Thank you, Cozy. You were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I think we should read them off because people need to know, like, these are great initiatives, and if this gets on the ballot, we're going to have some power, right? So I'll just quickly name them. So there's 10 of them. Recall of elected officials, 5% threshold, accountability between elections. So 2 is Office of Municipal Worker Fairness, new elected office, fairness of those who serve the city. 3, City Council reconstructed. I'll just skip some of them, just to give you a heads up, we'll be having, right now we don't have the power to recall. If your mayor sucks, there's no way to recall him. I think the same thing with government, but this is New York City. This will give you the tools, right? This will give us a power to be able to recall a mayor that's doing a crappy job, right? So that's what's really important. 9 nonpartisan ballots for municipal offices. Basically not having a label. You'll have the candidate, but they won't say the party maybe. I think that's what that means, but I'll double check that later. You guys go look at the rest of them, but I like that fact that we can recall somebody.
That's a hot one too, because how many people, like right now in this moment, and to just confirm, this is a nonpartisan initiative, right? And so please, if you guys take a moment now, call to action. It only takes 3 little seconds to visit the website, find the red button, sign, and then you have contributed. Like, whenever we get upset and we feel like disempowered, these are moments where we're asking you, if a tinier percentage of the people that showed up for the Knicks show up and just click sign the petition, we're going to be in. This is how you start taking your power back. There were people that spent time, money, lawyers, just to get this in a way where we can present it to you right now. This is the easy part. We have the easy part. So, you know, como dijo Sammy, it's the action. I don't like to just have a podcast to talk. I want to talk to people who are doing and walking the walk, such as the folks at the Dominican American Republican Club.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're absolutely. And one more thing I forgot to mention, the most important one is it will force people to debate, right? So this would say debate requirement for public funded candidates. So if you're taking public funds, you are forced to debate. No more of these people who don't debate because they know they're going to lose. You're forced to debate, and that should be law.
And believe me, that's something that I want to push soon as we win this primary. You know, it kind of sets us back. You know, unfortunately, running against a paper candidate, I would have loved to have been a real one. This is the first time, by the way, that there's a Republican primary in that area, ever. So we don't even have a past primary to go by to see how many Republicans. The Republicans that were knocking on the door are shocked that somebody knocked on their door. You know, we got to make it the norm. You know, now that they're not surprised that a Republicans, or they're surprised that nobody came and knocked on their door. That's the way we want to make it. That the other way around, that Republicans are out there knocking on doors, and they're like, oh shoot, you know, it's shame that, you know, the other candidate is a paper candidate, because if it's a real candidate, now we're actually having people, you know, we're gonna register to vote. We're gonna actually have people pushing people to go out. We have that energy on our side as well, like the Democrats are having on theirs. That's something that I'm looking forward to, hopefully in the future.
Awesome.
All right, guys, it's been really a pleasure, you guys, being here on with you, Rose. You know that you can always have me.
Thank you. We will be in touch. Cozy, any closing comments?
No, I'm good, man. I loved everything we talked about today, and let's just keep it moving, and keep working hard out there, people. We got to change the city. We got to hold the city down.
Mi gente, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for the new Cafecito breakers that have joined the community. We appreciate you. We're going to wrap up with 2 videos. One is, how can I not play a video that captures the fans that made their way for the Knicks? And then we are going to wrap up with Mark's take. Mark was able to get like a VIP experience, and this was his contribution to the show tonight. So thank you guys. We're gonna say goodbye right now. I'm gonna play the first video and the next, but we're kicking ourselves out of the stream. Love you guys.
The greatest fan experience ever started out with Mitchell Robinson pulling up. Shout out to the cute NYPD officer handing him my Ewing jersey right there for him to sign. Greatly appreciated. NYPD community affairs in full effect, helping get autographs there. Then, of course, Jalen Brunson, everybody's favorite, probably the GOAT, New York Knick. I think he might have topped Ewing. I mean, he's got the ring. There's his dad right there, Rick Brunson, holding the title right there. Definitely a cool experience to see that. Then Coney Island's own Stephon Marbury coming through, all smiles, giving pounds to the NYPD. Landry Shamet in the building, coming through. Then Jordan Clarkson, the first one to shake my hand. He's happier than everybody over here. He gave me a pound right here. It's freaking amazing right there. Giving pounds to the kids. Me right there. Loving every minute of it. It's freaking awesome. The players coming out. I thought I wasn't going to see anything. Then I just went to the area where they're loading the players up. Not supposed to have access, but Mikal Bridges making his way to his float right there. He's videotaping the experience himself. The float with his name on it. The floats didn't start moving for a while, so I was right in front of Mikal Bridges' float. So I filmed a lot from here, but we were chilling with the music playing and fans enjoying it, everyone having a good time. Tracy Morgan was here. He looked mad that I didn't see him or something. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, you didn't notice me here?" I was like, "Yo, Tracy, come back. My bad, I didn't see you." Josh Hart, the man right there, coming through. Allen Houston, legend. One of my favorite Knicks of all time, Amari Stoudemire, got signed. We started winning. There he goes, giving me a pound right there. That's freaking awesome. Then Patrick Ewing, favorite Knick of all time, coming through. Gave a pound to the kids, left me hanging. All good. Jordan Clarkson having some more fun. He came back around, walked by, came back again, filming some more. Amazing experience for them. The fans are loving it. They're loving it even more than anything I can imagine. Ben Stiller, nobody even recognized it was him. So I screamed out his name, Ben Stiller, and then, you know, people started realizing that he's there. But
what's up, man? I see you. Know what I saw you? I saw you.
Josh Hart walked around and came by again. Looks like the legend Walt Clyde Frazier just casually strolling by. Mikal Bridges giving the dog some treats right there. Fans are happy, players are happy, even the dogs are happy at the parade. Look at this. Josh Hart on the float. Seeing the floats before everybody else. This isn't even technically the start of the parade yet. I'm before the start of the actual parade, so this is pretty amazing. Former players on this bus right here. Start with Marbury.
Big shout to all the kids hanging out.
John Stark smoking a cigar. Mari in the building.
Yeah, what up?
I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be, and niggas trying to take my life away. I put a hole in
did catch one of those t-shirts that they threw out later. It's an XL, can't fit into it, but they threw out a lot of t-shirts with every float, so. Girl has a sign says this is really happening, so it's a real moment for all the Knicks fans. Have to remind them it's not a dream, it's actually happening. Cheerleaders out here dancing. Followed by the biggest float of them all, the one with the championship, Rick Brunson holding the title, Jalen Brunson holding his daughter, Tracy Morgan chilling up front. Everybody's loving it.
Walking by yourself, that's right. Walking by yourself to your right.
Then Spike Lee on the back of the float. Have to refilm over there, get a shot of Spike. Ben still at the front of this one here. Bernard King, legend from the 80s. I saw him over there, hard to see from this angle. He's sitting in shotgun. Spencer Haywood. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Patrick Ewing. It's awesome that they did the subways like that, but they also made a float. And they got the staff involved. To top it all off, I'm on ESPN's website.